mean, I'm the kind of person that's always a little anxious. Other times I've been so overwhelmed by my nervousness, and I'm scared that it will overwhelm me to the point where I can't feel and I shut down.
Aron had many green flag qualities. He seemed patient, kind, and emotionally open, but Angelica still could not settle into the relationship. One moment she seemed sure, the next moment doubt took over, and that is what I want to understand in this video. Not to blame her, not to excuse the hurt, but to look at what can happen when anxiety, uncertainty, and the need for social approval and fear of choosing wrong all get tangled together. And isn't that what so many of us do when someone ends a relationship with us? We turn the ending into a conclusion, a negative conclusion about ourselves. We think, what was wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? Hi, I'm Dr. Pam, therapist and relationship counselor. I'm so happy that you're here. Whether you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm very grateful, or you're just finding this space. This is a space where we look more deeply at ourselves, our patterns, and our relationships. And if that resonates with you, I'd love for you to connect with all of us. And just as a reminder, I know that this is reality TV. It is heavily edited. And also, it is important for you to know that I am not diagnosing anyone. That tells you so little about a person. I am using what we have been shown so that you and I can explore patterns and emotional dynamics that may help you reflect on your own relationships and yourself. Also, I will be using clips from all the episodes. So let's start in the pods where Aron asks Angelica if she would be open to moving abroad for his work. Listen to how she responds.
Sure, I would be willing to do that. No problem.
Yeah?
No. I mean, what I really want is that we motivate each other, that we prioritize enjoying life together, and that we have fun together.
I love that you say that.
In this moment, Angelica gives Aron hope. She sounds open, willing, almost certain that this is something she could imagine. And I don't think she is simply saying what Aron may want to hear. I think that she believes what she is saying in that moment. But later, she tells him something very different, and this is where we begin to see the pattern of Angelica's uncertainty. It's not just that she changes her mind, it's that her uncertainty seems to depend on the emotional state that she is in that moment. When she feels connected, she sounds all in. When fear or doubt enters, that certainty starts to disappear.
Bring up something that I have been thinking about. I went into this experiment thinking I'd like to find somebody that already has an established career and is stable enough that we can continue to build on that. And that's, I guess, where I'm unsure.
It seems that Angelica may have been caught up in the moment when she told Aron that she would be willing to move abroad with him. In that moment, she may have felt connected to him, hopeful, and willing to imagine the future that they could have together. Then later, once she had more time to think about what moving would actually mean, she realized that she did not want that, or she was unsure about that. That part is understandable, but what's important is that realization doesn't seem to last for her. When Aron reassures her, she shifts again. Let's watch.
I mean, if you see me as a man who just talks and will not get anything done, if I get a family, that comes from. If things don't happen the way that I see it, and you can't get behind my version anymore, and we have kids, then I'll get a job.
And then she shifts again. And this is the beginning of the pattern we see between the two of them. Angelica moves in and out of certainty, and Aron often responds by trying to steady her. So the relationship starts to form around her doubts. She feels sure, then unsure, then reassured, then sure again. And Aron becomes the one trying to help her feel okay. That may feel loving in the moment, but over time it can become exhausting. for him, because his steadiness can start to be what helps regulate her uncertainty.
This scares me too, but it's what I've needed, and it's what I've always wanted, so it can't turn out bad, I think.
Even in her acceptance of his proposal, we hear a small sign of uncertainty. She says it can't turn out bad and then adds, I think. That little phrase is important because it again questions her certainty. She is saying yes, but even inside the yes, there is a trace of hesitation. And again, we have to remember that this is Love is Blind, and we have no idea what it feels like to say yes to an engagement in the pods. And I am not saying that that means that she doesn't care about Aron. It may mean that her hope and her doubt were already living side by side. Before I say more about this moment, I want to show you where Angelica tells her friend that she had a panic attack in this moment because Aron wasn't her type.
So the first time I met him, I freaked out and had a panic attack because I was like, what the? He's not my type.
What's important here is that the panic attack seems to start before the doors even open, before she sees him. Now, we have no idea what it feels like to stand behind those doors, knowing that you are about to meet someone you have never seen in person, but have already emotionally attached to and agreed to an engagement. So, of course, anxiety is expected. However, most people approach the reveal with some mix of nervousness and excitement, but Angelica does not seem to settle into the excitement on her own. She settles into excitement after Aron comforts her, and that is a big moment because it suggests that the anxiety may not have been only about Aron's appearance and not being her type. His appearance may have become the explanation in her mind that she attached to after the panic was already there. In other words, the panic came first and then the mind searched for a reason. This is one of the ways anxiety can be so confusing in relationships. It creates a strong physical reaction, like a panic attack, and then we try to explain it. We say, I felt panic, so then we conclude something must be wrong with him. Or, I felt anxious, so this must not be right. But sometimes anxiety is not giving us information about the other person. Sometimes it is showing us how overwhelmed we feel by the moment, the pressure, the commitment, or the loss of control. I'm not saying that Angelica should have ignored her anxiety and chosen Aron anyway. I am saying we have to be careful about assuming anxiety automatically means the relationship is wrong or the person is wrong. Panic is real, but the conclusions that we draw are not always the truth.
I mean, you being funny?
Do you think I'm funny?
Somewhat.
I'm afraid you'll get tired of me.
Is that so?
She says, I'm afraid that you'll get tired of me. And when she says that, I hear, I'm afraid I may be too much for you. I'm afraid I may not be easy to love. I'm afraid that once you really know me, you may not want to stay. And this gives us a very different way to understand some of what we are seeing with her. Because if underneath the doubt is a fear that someone will eventually get tired of you, then even reassurance may not fully land. You may want closeness, but you may also be bracing for rejection. And when someone is bracing for rejection, they may begin to test the relationship, question the relationship, or look for evidence that something is wrong before the other person has actually done anything wrong.
I don't like it when you say, is that so? Can we walk a little fast at least?
You think I'll be tired all day?
Yeah. You'll be tired and boring.
These moments in isolation are minor. However, these minor complaints add up over time. So again, I'm not saying that this excuses the impact on Aron, but it does help us understand that Angelica's uncertainty may not have been only about whether Aron was right for her. Some of it may have been about whether she believed she could be loved and chosen. And that is such an important relationship lesson. Sometimes we think we are doubting the other person when we are actually doubting whether we can be loved by them.
Don't you think it's hard to go out because people stare?
I really don't care at all.
Yeah, but I do. Stop it.
What do you mean? You told me and I said it doesn't bother me. I didn't say it doesn't bother you.
I can't take it. I'm going home. I can't be here. My phone, please. And the key.
She is worried what other people will think. And I have to tell you, I watched this scene a few times because I didn't understand why she was so upset that she had to walk away. At first, I wondered if she felt dismissed by Aron when he said he did not care if people stared. But Aron does clarify that he is not saying that it should not bother her. He is not telling her she should not care. He is simply saying that he does not care. And that makes this moment even more interesting, because the conflict may not be that Aron dismissed her feelings, because I don't think that he did. The conflict may be that Angelica needed him to feel the way that she felt in order to feel understood. For Aron, people staring does not seem to carry much emotional weight. For Angelica, it does. She notices it. She feels affected by it. And sometimes in relationships, we struggle when the other person does not share the same emotional reaction that we have. When a person says, I did not feel that way, we may hear that as, your feeling does not make sense. But those are not the same thing. Aron seems to be saying, I understand that it bothers you, but it does not bother me. And Angelica may be experiencing that as disregard or invalidation. This connects to the larger pattern we have been seeing in Angelica. She seems very sensitive to how the relationship is perceived by others. So this may not have been only about people staring. It may have touched something deeper in her, fear. How are we being seen? What are people thinking? Does this relationship make sense to others? And this is such an important relationship lesson. Being understood does not always mean the other person has to feel the same thing that we feel. A partner can acknowledge our experience and still have a different one. But when we are anxious or unsure, difference can feel threatening. It can feel like disconnection. It can feel like you don't get me, even when the other person is trying to understand. So I don't think this was really about the walk. I think this was about how difficult it was for Angelica to tolerate Aron having a different emotional response to something that felt very important to her. And even though we can understand why she may have been upset, walking away still has an impact. Aron is left confused and alone in conflict. The emotion may be understandable that she felt, but the way it gets expressed can leave Aron feeling punished or abandoned.
And yesterday, when I left you, I walked away because it got too much.
But what were the feelings that you were so...
I don't know. When it's too much, when a small thing happens, because it's been so good, and then a little thing happened, so it felt like everything fell apart. And I was like, is this what it's always going to be like? We can't get married.
If you notice, Angelica is not able to name what she was feeling or what was bothering her in this moment, and this is huge. Because when someone cannot name what is happening inside of them, emotion often comes out as irritation, blame, withdrawal, or lashing out. They may know that they feel bad, but they cannot yet say, I felt embarrassed, or I felt judged, or I felt alone, or I felt like you did not understand why people staring mattered to me. And then Angelica goes further and says that everything felt so good, and then suddenly it felt like everything fell apart. That tells us something important about how quickly her internal state can shift. It is not simply, we had a disagreement, it becomes everything fell apart. And that is a big emotional jump. This is where anxiety can create all or nothing meaning. One hard moment does not stay as one hard moment. It becomes a sign about the entire relationship. And this is such a valuable relationship lesson. When you cannot name the feeling and understand it, the relationship often becomes the problem. Aron seemed to be trying to understand her, but Angelica could not clearly tell him what had upset her or what she needed, and that leaves both people stuck. She feels overwhelmed and misunderstood. He feels confused and unable to repair. And this connects to the larger pattern we have been seeing. Angelica's doubt does not always come with clarity, and it comes with intensity. The feeling is strong, but the meaning is unclear. That is one of the most painful forms of relationship anxiety, because the person feels deeply unsettled, but the partner does not know what they are being asked to understand, fix, or respond to.
Do you drink every day?
No, but I do drink when shit's happening.
Shit's always happening. What do you mean?
I know, so I drink every day.
I want to handle this moment gently. I am not judging her, but I do think that it tells us something about the way that she copes. When someone says that they drink when things are happening and then says that they drink every day, they may suggest that the emotional intensity that they feel is hard to sit with. And if emotional intensity is hard to sit with, then relationship uncertainty can feel even more overwhelming, because relationships always bring up so much. They can bring up hope, fear, attachment, rejection, pressure. Family approval becomes important, social approval, worry about the future, and the possibility of not being deeply seen. So if someone already struggles to tolerate emotional discomfort, then a relationship like this, moving this quickly with cameras, with a wedding date, with family and friends involved, that may intensify everything. Again, this is not about blaming her. It is about understanding that if someone does not have a way to stay with discomfort, they may try to escape it, control it, numb it, or attribute it to another person.
Is there one calm bone in your entire body?
Yeah, but see, you are extremely calm.
Someone's gotta be.
I'm not used to somebody so calm.
So he says, is there one calm bone in her body? And this is where Aron is naming something important. He is experiencing the lack of calm, and this is what unresolved anxiety can do in a relationship. It doesn't stay inside the anxious person. It becomes part of the emotional climate in the relationship that both people are living in. Angelica may be the one feeling the uncertainty, but Aron is also living inside of it. He is trying to understand her. He is trying to reassure her. He is trying to stay connected, but the relationship keeps moving between closeness and doubt, reassurance and fear, hope and uncertainty, and that can become exhausting for the other person, meaning Aron, because when she moves in and out of doubt and uncertainty, Aron may start to wonder, where do I stand? Am I enough? Is today a good day or a bad day? Are we okay or are we not okay?
That.
I care a lot about what people think, but you don't give a shit about that stuff, right?
They have nothing to do with my decisions.
I mean, like, they're not gonna get it.
She worries about friends not liking him, and he doesn't worry what other people think. So notice the difference between them here. Aron does not seem as worried about the outside approval, but Angelica does. For Aron, the relationship may feel like something between the two of them. And for her, it seems to involve a larger picture, friends, family, social circle, and how this relationship will be perceived by others. Sometimes this comes from a deeper place. Sometimes people grow up learning that approval matters, that choosing correctly matters, that being accepted by the group matters, that love is not just about what you feel, but how your choice will be seen. So for her, she may not just be asking herself, do I love Aron? She may also be asking, will my people that are important to me understand this? Will they accept him? Will this relationship make sense to them? Will I be judged for choosing him? And when those questions become louder than your own inner knowing, it becomes very difficult to choose a person from a grounded place.
Julia is my best friend who is very concerned about who I date. She really wants to be sure that it's a good guy. If she doesn't like him, then it will be difficult.
This is where the outside approval becomes even more important. She is saying that if her best friend does not like Aron, that will be difficult. And of course, we can understand wanting your best friend to like the person that you are going to marry. That makes sense. But the deeper question is, how much power does that opinion have for her? Is that information or is it a deciding factor? Because there is a big difference between saying, I value my friend's opinion, as opposed to saying, I cannot trust my own choice unless my friend confirms it. And I think that is one of the deeper patterns here. Angelica keeps looking for something outside of herself to settle what is unsettled inside of her. But the problem is, if the uncertainty is internal, outside reassurance may only calm it temporarily.
Seen any red flags?
It's just stuff that bothers me. Like, he's just so incredibly slow at home. I'm leaving and waiting outside for 15 minutes. So the first time I met him, I freaked out and had a panic attack because, he's not my type.
So these may be real concerns, and I want to say clearly, sometimes our doubts do point to something real. But the question I keep coming back to is this. When the reason keeps changing, is the reason really the reason? First, it's that he moves too slow. Then it is what will people think. Then it is whether friends will approve, which they ultimately do approve. Then it is he's too slow at home. And then it's I don't like it when he says, is that so? And this is one of the ways anxiety can work in relationships. It starts collecting evidence. It looks for the reason we can feel unsettled. And then sometimes when we find these things and we gather them all up, it can feel like proof that the relationship won't work. But sometimes the thing that we are focused on is not the root problem. Sometimes it is just the place where anxiety landed that day.
One than him. I feel it in my gut.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I feel it too.
So go for it.
And this is such an important moment. Her friends approve. So the thing that she thought might settle her actually happens, but the doubt does not go away. And when reassurance lands but does not last, that tells us something. It tells us that the reassurance may not have been the real need. Sometimes we think, if they approve, then I'll feel calm. If my family likes him, then I'll know. If my friends see what I see, then I can trust this. But if the uncertainty is coming from inside, approval may only give temporary relief. So this is where the pattern becomes clearer. The issue was not simply whether her friends would approve, because they did, and she still could not settle. So that tells us the deeper question may not be, do other people accept Aron? The deeper question may be, can Angelica trust her own yes or no?
No, what now?
No matter what happens, I want to tell you that I'm so happy and grateful that you've given me the feeling of feeling loved in a way that I didn't think I deserved or would have.
So this makes me wonder about Aron's own feeling of self-worth in relationships, or maybe just this relationship, we don't know. Because his steadiness is beautiful in many ways. He calms her, he reassures her, he stays present, he tries to understand. He does not seem to punish her for her uncertainty. Those are real strengths. But I also want to ask, where do Aron's needs go? Because men can self-abandon. Men can overfunction emotionally. Men can become so focused on being steady, supportive, patient, and reassuring that they lose track of what they are feeling inside about what they are going through with their partner. And sometimes what looks like emotional strength may also be a way of trying to earn security in the relationship. Instead of asking, is this relationship steady enough for me? Aron may be asking, am I steady enough for her? Instead of asking, do I feel chosen? He may be asking, How can I help her choose me? And that is a painful place to be. When someone else's yes keeps disappearing, you can start to feel like you need to become more lovable, more impressive, more acceptable, more calm, more reassuring, more patient, as if it is your job to become the answer to their uncertainty. But no partner can become calm enough, approve enough, settled enough, or perfect enough to resolve uncertainty that lives inside another person. And that does not mean Angelica is a bad person at all. It just means that the relationship is becoming organized around doubt that Aron cannot fix.
When you started talking, I thought, okay, now he's breaking up with me.
Never.
God, yeah,
Never.
but
So she thought that he was breaking up with her when he was really telling her how much he loved her, and this is such an important moment. Her first thought was that he was leaving her, but he was actually expressing love. I do think that this moment shows how closely fear of abandonment may be to the surface for her. She seems to have a fear of being left, a fear that the other person's love may not last, a fear that once they see more of her, they may decide that she is too much or not enough. So even when Aron is trying to express love, the first place her mind goes to is this the moment that he leaves. And that is one of the most painful things about fear of abandonment in a relationship. It can make the relationship feel unstable, even in moments where the other person is trying to come closer. It does not mean that reassurance means nothing. It means reassurance may only calm the fear for a moment before the uncertainty returns.
I mean, should I say I do to this man for the rest of my life? Have you had any doubts about saying that?
So by this point, the doubts have moved through so many places about moving, his job, the reveal, whether he was her type, what would people think, whether friends would approve, how he moves slowly throughout the day, how fast he walks or how slow he walks, whether he fits her rhythm, and now marriage. And as I said earlier, this is likely more about Angelica not being able to find a steady yes inside of herself. And I want to say this clearly. That does not mean that she should marry him. A person can be kind, a person can be patient, have many green flags, and still may not be your person. And the kindest thing that you can do is slow down and get honest before the other person continues to build hope around a future you may not be able to choose. So sadly, we know that Angelica eventually ended the relationship. But I want to jump ahead to the reunion because I want to speak to what Aron concluded about himself after she ended things with him.
It's like you somehow despised me, and I didn't get why.
He says that he thought that she despised him, and that breaks my heart. Because from what we have seen, Angelica ending the relationship may not have been about Aron being unlovable, unwanted, or not enough. It may have had much more to do with her own uncertainty, anxiety, and inability to find her inner truth with confidence. And isn't that what so many of us do when someone ends a relationship with us? We turn the ending into a conclusion, a negative conclusion about ourselves. We think, what was wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? And of course, there is nothing wrong with a healthy self-reflection. Every relationship can teach us something about ourselves. We can ask, what can I learn? What would I do differently? What patterns do I want to understand in myself? But self-reflection is different from self-blame. And I don't think that Aron was taking in the full picture of their relationship. He seemed to make her ending about his worth instead of seeing that Angelica had been moving in and out of uncertainty throughout the entire relationship. So the question may not be what was wrong with Aron. The deeper question may be, was Angelica ever able to feel settled enough inside of herself to choose him? So next, Angelica answers the question why she ended the relationship.
When I suddenly feel like everything's been going well, and I really want this, I want it to be right, and it feels right, and then suddenly I get this strong feeling that this really doesn't feel right. That just made me so scared. And I mean, I just wanted to run away.
You can see that Angelica's answer about why she ended the relationship still sounded confused. She says she had these strong feelings of, I want this to work, and then another strong feeling that something was wrong. So even looking back for her, she seems to describe the same pattern we saw throughout the relationship, moving between hope and fear, wanting and doubt, closeness and the urge to escape. And then she says something important. She says that she ran away. That is what Aron needed to hear, because I ran away is very different from there was something wrong with you. And thankfully, it seemed helpful for Aron to hear that. It seemed to give him some closure and peace, because it shifted the meaning of the ending for him. Maybe the ending was not proof that he was unlovable, that she despised him, or that he did something wrong. Maybe it was more about Angelica not being able to stay with and understand her fear and the pressure of a relationship and her uncertainty long enough to get to clarity. And that is such an important distinction, because sometimes when someone leaves, we turn their leaving into evidence that we were not enough. But sometimes the ending is not a mirror of our worth. It is a window into the other person's fear, their capacity, and their inability to stay anchored in their own truth. Okay, that is a wrap for today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. There's more Love is Blind Sweden to come. See you next time.